Hello, I'm Gideon Coe. Welcome to the first in what we hope will be a regular programme, the World Music Club, here on the BBC World Service. This is the show that puts your questions and those of an invited audience to a major music personality. And this time our guest is the former frontman with the Sex Pistols and the current musical force behind the group Public Image Limited, John Lydon. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. John Lydon. So you're 20 years between records. Why was the time right to make a new Pill record?
Oh my gosh, the record companies got me into such a financial restraint, a stranglehold, that I quite literally couldn't afford to keep a band running, and there was no way out of that. The members obviously buggered off because I couldn't pay their wages, and that since the Pistols, when I first started Pill, it was all about, we try and keep it in-house. We try to earn the finances ourselves. But you'll find that the shitstorm will conspire against any such activity. And it became so restricting, so awful, so painful. And to a person like me that likes to write, I like to work, I like to do things, it was impossible to get round. There was an argument I had years ago, and it's an odd one and an aside, but it's the way my mind works. So if you think I'm drifting, just pay attention. It all ends up in the same place. It was Malcolm once said in an interview, "John is a poet," and I was so bitterly angry with him. Because I presume poetry meant fobbing off, selling a bunch of turds to people. A pile of bricks at the Tate. But I am a poet because what I say is what I experience. And that's poetry in its truest form. And the songs, I think, show. And here I am after all these years of stifling financial oppression, and I'm still up there.
Yeah, we can hear that on
I love me country, I love me planet, and I love me species. Hello, folks.
Let's get our first audience question, which comes from Stephen Palmer, who's from London, a major Pill fan. He saw you in 1983. He also managed to catch the Pistols live in 77. Where's Stephen? Where are you, Stephen?
I'm over here. Good evening, John. What are your views on the music scene today? I personally believe as reverting back to being safe, thanks to the likes of Adele, Jessie J and others. There don't seem to be many mainstream artists reflecting the world today, though Springsteen does, in my opinion. So do you think that music is still valid and a good vehicle for getting one's point across?
The internet's done an awful lot of damage. We all know this. And music now is sampled and copied and stolen, and so creativity doesn't have much of a priority any longer. Hopefully, with the resurrection of vinyl, if we can achieve such a thing, it brings you back to the point, the personal contact you would have when you go into a record store and pick up that 12-inch square thing of art, and you'd feel part of it, and you'd go home and you'd play it on, yes, it's old-fashioned, a scratch across vinyl, but the sound was superb, wasn't it? Now, all of us, when we were young, right, except the youngsters... remember what a dance club could be. Well, that was thank you to vinyl, right? And the Sex Pistols, thank you to vinyl. And Pill, vinyl, all right? Yeah. Now, we tried cassettes, we tried CDs, but they cheated us on the technology there. And now they cheat us even further. MP3 files, iPod. It's the unravelling of the very, very thing that you need as a human, the full signal of communication. So yes, modern bands don't seem to know that and don't have that, but God bless them, at least they're trying. And there are many of them out there struggling in this world. And you've got to bear in mind too, for me, when I began, it was a struggle also. We were facing ridiculous prejudices. Oh, the audacity, that's not music. Well, everything is music. If it's a human being telling you what they feel in their heart and soul, that is music, and it deserves to be on vinyl.
There you go. Steve, vinyl's the key. Thanks for your question, Steve.
I really do think so.
Next we have a telephone question recorded earlier by Giselle Hirata in Japan.
Hi, John. My name is Giselle Inagami, and I'm calling from Okinawa, Japan. I would like to ask a question. The punk movement was born on a set of ideologies which were expressed not only on the music, attitudes, but also on the way people dressed. And then the punk fashion came to clothes destituted of ideologies, just as a trend. Basically, what I would like to know is, what do you feel or think when you see people wearing punk fashion purely as a fashion choice, not as a way of expressing their ideologies or backgrounds?
Okay, my darling. First and foremost, no, it wasn't based on some shadow or ideology or clothing. These things naturally occurred. It wasn't preordained or designed or manufactured in any such way at all. It was the voice and expression of working class people telling you like it is. And fortunately or unfortunately, we had a manager viewed things from a Bieber point of view.
Just explain what that might be.
Boutique clothing. All right. But, I mean, let's be fair. This is me. I don't mind running on stage in a straitjacket. Many at that time would have thought I honestly belonged in one. And that's how it kind of evolved. And my love of tartans and, and plaids and things. And that's all part of our High Island heritage. We love these patterns, don't we? All right? We love to kill a duck in a good tweed.
The safety pins were necessity or decoration, John?
Necessity, yet again. You're poor. You've only got one jumper. It's got holes in it. It's got to be kept together one way or another. And lo and behold, you've got a press culture out there in the 70s that would turn that into a sensationalist image thing. Well, it became that, not because of us, but because of the likes of designers like Zandra Rhodes, who then offered £1,000 dresses, which at that time was outrageously scandalous price, but imitating what we were doing in safety pins. And yet that was acceptable, and me, not being able to afford much better, wasn't. Check your society. Check who feeds you the information and what you do with that information.
Yeah, and another question, an email, which comes from Jordan Jessie Callahan in Melbourne, Australia. And
it's not the Jordan, is it?
No, who you spent some time with in Australia, though, not in Melbourne. There are two questions for you. Firstly, would you like a hug? And the supplementary, you've been married for over 30 years.
Johnny always loves a hug.
There you are.
Come on, I'm human.
It's a given.
Don't we all love a hug? Isn't that the one thing? Are we not human? Do we not love each other really, genuinely, seriously? Do you really want the rest of your life to be subway passenger distractions of hate and contempt? No. So spread the scabies.
Do you have... There's a rule for life. Do you have any advice or insight?
Oh, you got to take a pockle or two.
Do you have any insight or advice for a happy, lasting marriage, John, is another question.
Yeah, honesty. Jordan. Absolute honesty. Tell it like it is. And rows and all. Enjoy the rows because, when that person you care so much about is telling you something that's wrong about you, you better be able to listen to that. It makes you a better person eventually. It's the hardest thing in the world to face up to. But when they're wrong, come. And by the way, because, your wife burnt my house down last year and I got no kitchen.
I wasn't aware of that.
Well...
What caused it?
She did. And God bless her, and she's alive. And we realised that we lost loads of possessions and things like that, and that didn't matter. It mattered to me that she was alive. But we're now looking at, like, we need a kitchen desperate, right? And IKEA make really good frames for cupboards. And good, interesting things that you can actually balance a sink on. You don't have to buy Italian designer. I'm a practical person. I hope you're understanding the gist in this.
Already we've had sound advice from a whole variety of areas,
This is
John.
from a man who wrote World Destruction and had his kitchen destroyed.
Manfred Happ in Frankfurt, Germany, asks, how does recording with Pill today differ from working with the first version of the band? Is it easier or harder? And he goes on to ask, hasn't Pill always been essentially about you, John? That's Manfred's question.
I'm the one what put this together, but I've never been a big head, and I've never, ever been greedy or selfish about it. I've shared everything from royalties to every other aspect of it. Anyone that would assume that it was me and my ego would be on a Morrissey trail, and that ain't... I mean, that's a wrong one. Pill is a life experience. I started it. I loved it. I had difficulties in the Pistols, not only with the management, but the setup and the way the media moved in on it and sort of took it away from us. And it became, from what we initially started out as a damn good laugh, you know, in a musical vaudeville way, into something nasty and dark. The Sex Pistols has never been nasty and dark. Pill is not nasty and dark. I'm not nasty and dark.
The next question relates to the Pill show you did in Israel, and it did receive some criticism. I'll read you the question, which comes from Eitan Davis in Israel, who says, I missed your gig in Tel Aviv with Pill in the summer of 2010. How did it go for you, and were you surprised by the amount of interest, some might say controversy, about you playing a concert in Israel?
What possible controversy could there be with Mr. Rotten playing in Israel? There you go. A lot. And here you go. You've got this left-wing lot, like spousing, you know, all kinds of cruelty to the Palestinians. And yes, I'm completely in agreement with that. But I don't support the Israeli government. I don't support the PLO. I don't support any of these political organisations. When I play around this world, I play to humanity, right? I play to what those kind of people turn into the cannon fodder for silliness and political intrigue, death and bombing. I'm Mr. Lydon, right? I have never supported the nonsense in Northern Ireland or anywhere else that makes you and me separate from each other. One planet, one love. And Johnny actually means it.
Next, we're going to go to Lagos, Nigeria. And Sami Mohammed emailed us asking, you said on the television news that you led, whereas the Beatles and the Rolling Stones followed the fashions to sell records. Could you expand further on this?
Didn't they just? I mean, anyone old enough? The 60s. It's fun, isn't it, that they rewind those shows now on TV, and you can really catch on to what was really going on, and how the 60s wasn't a revolution at all. It was Cilla Black with bad teeth, and it was all kind of like the Rolling Stones and that. They were all stealing black American culture and co-opting it into whitey universe. And this is, you know, when I first started with the Pistols, this is why I had a point of view about those kind of bands. And, you know, and Eric Clapton's a nice fella, but he ain't come up with an original guitar line, not once, never. And that really annoyed me, because this is a beautiful country. Britain, right? Our cultures, any culture, Nothing of those bands in the 60s did anything for us. They did not want to understand us. They just wanted a white version of black people, but without paying the black people. And so, hello, I love my soul singers, I love my blues players, but I don't like the white versions of them. Not ever, never, ever. And unfortunately, I've got to say that even goes all to the heart and soul of Led Zeppelin. By God, give it to them. They did it with a diff.
There's another question related to the Sex Pistols here, and in particular, Malcolm McLaren, the late manager of the Sex Pistols, from Saul Rodriguez in Sao Paulo in Brazil via email. And he says the Sex Pistols, widely seen as a spearhead of the punk movement of the 70s. How do you think history will look back on Malcolm McLaren's part in the musical legacy, is the question.
It won't.
Did he have any idea of what the band should sound like when he put it together?
No, he had a big funeral in Camden Town. Oh, for God's sake, he didn't come from the place. You know, it's like,
I think what you said about
Malcolm was really all right in the beginning, but you've got to understand that we had no relationship at all. None. He was a very much older fella than us, and he never helped us out when we were young, and we really needed help because the media was on us, the whole world was on us, and he just thought that was funny, you know, and it was very, very dangerous to try and go home at night with no money in your pocket and knowing you're the lead singer of the Sex Pistols, and there you are on the front page as like, you know, this demon from hell. Bear in mind, how can a stupid pop song be discussed in the Houses of Parliament under the Traitors and Treasons Act and carry a death penalty? That's what I went through. You snigger now. What do you think that felt like for me way back then? All right, nowhere to live, squatting, no money, and a dodgy manager. Get it right. Get it right, folks.
We've got another audience question now from James Hunter. Where are you, James? Make yourself known and please ask away.
If punk new wave had never happened, would you have still tried for a career in music? And if not, where do you think you would be now in your life?
I ain't got a clue on that. It's the opportunity was thrown at me, and it seemed silly and bizarre, and it's all to do with me running up and down King's Road with a I Hate Pink Floyd T-shirt. You know, it seems daft, doesn't it? But, you know, at those times, that was an outrageously challenging statement. Yeah? Yep. I know Walters and you know, and the rest of them since, and we had chats, and they know this to be true. They were sacrosanct, you know? They were the privileged. You weren't allowed an opinion on it. Isn't that absurd?
James, thanks very much
and
for your
yet
question.
I love Pink Floyd. Well, select versions.
Got Christine Muller from New York has emailed a question, John, and she would like to know, do you still keep in touch on a regular basis with those you're alongside in the Sex Pistols?
Yes and no. We're not enemies. I mean, we love a good row at each other, and we love to spread a gossip line in the press. And can't believe that people actually feed off this agenda and turn it into something poisonous. They're my mates forever. I don't care what bad news they have to tell you about me. They gave me the first chance to break out of the quagmire. You know, to be able to like say something that I thought mattered and share that with other people. And we bounced and we learnt off each other.
And the reunions worked out really well as well. I mean, the first...
No.
You didn't like that? Playing in Finsbury Park.
Of course they did.
Yeah.
Why shouldn't they?
Well, that's all we have time for on this edition of the World Music Club. We will return with more of your questions and another music guest here on the BBC World Service. But for now, would you please show your appreciation for our guest today, Mr. John Lydon. Thank you very much.
May the road rise with you and your enemies always be behind you. May they scatter, flutter, butter and shutter. I am John.
Here comes the last bit.
I am from Finsbury Park.